This is Funky Leroy Harper, and you're watching Musicians Reveal with Joe Kelley. Keeping it funky.
Welcome to Musicians Reveal. We have an extremely talented musician, multi-instrumentalist. He was the saxophonist with James Brown for over 15 years. He leads his own band, Funky Leroy Harper's All Starz. And hey, we're happy to say Leroy Harper is in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Good to be in the house. Another day above the ground. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers as we record. And let me ask you something. We talked off air. You didn't have a gig last night, but you stay awful busy with the gigs in your area, right?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. Tell us about the Star Tavern, which is our friends Elliot Levine and Lynn Grissett are part of your band.
Yes, that's where I met Elliot at. And I got a divorce probably about 12, 13 years ago. And I moved down to Myrtle Beach from Wilmington, North Carolina,
Okay.
just because I was working down here all the time and saved me a drive. And I was only an hour away from my two daughters.
Hmm.
And probably after about 3 years down here, a drummer that I was playing with named Jeff Sanson, really good drummer from New York, he kept inviting me on Tuesday nights up to the Star Tavern. And so I finally got up there. It was about a half an hour from my house, so it took me a couple of Mondays to get there on Tuesdays. And when I got there, I realized the owner of the Star Tavern, I had known him since 1988, and we were real good friends. So
Oh, wow.
so quickly became like a little home base for me. And then a really good friend of mine, DJ Flame On, who used to be with me, his mother had recently died, and he ended up moving back to town. And he convinced me to put a band back together, and I did. And I told the owner Ron Johnson, I was like, "Give me your worst night, and I'll build it up." So he gave me Monday nights, and I started building up Monday nights.
Yeah,
Not really doing a
indeed.
jam session, but selective sit-ins, and it quickly became a place that whenever musicians came into town, they checked in there first, kind of like Ellis Island for musicians. Get to town,
Yeah,
come
right.
in, sit in, play, get to meet other guys, get a gig.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to make the comment, but you explained it right there. The Monday night. Usually, we're in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs, but when we lived down close to New York City, when we lived in Connecticut, it's like you wouldn't think a Monday night would be hopping, but if people go to YouTube and check out Leroy Harper's All Star Band, and you'll see the place is jumping and the music's great, and it's a success for you, right?
Yes, very much. 8 years
Yeah.
and counting, working on our eighth year straight.
Wow. So you also have Elliot Levine on keys, always great
Yes, I
guy.
do. When I
Yeah,
when I can catch him, he's a moving target. He's
that's
all
right.
he's on the move. But when
But
I can
he,
get him, yes.
yeah, and Lynn Grissett playing sax and trumpet as well in your band. And the Star Tavern, where is it located exactly?
It's in Little River, South Carolina, right in the heart of Little River on Highway 17.
Okay, and do you play any other nights there or just the Monday nights?
On Tuesday nights, I play saxophone with the owner's band called the Mercenaries.
Oh,
And
okay.
then one or two Thursdays, I play with my roommate, Keith Atwood, his rock and roll band called Atwood. Does a
Oh,
lot of Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I usually
yeah.
end up playing either organ on keyboards or backup guitar for him on keyboards.
I seen you guys work Maggot Brain into the set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my other guitar player, Don Johnson, brought that one to the set.
Wow. Yeah. That's room to stretch on that one, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
When
so
he
let's
lets me.
when he lets you, yeah, that's right. Well, you're the boss. It's your band, right?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. So let's go back to the early days. Where exactly were you born and raised?
I was born in Aiken, South Carolina,
Oh, okay.
which is about 20 miles outside of Augusta, Georgia, into South Carolina. And about 40 miles from Columbia, South Carolina, right off I-20. And my parents moved me right down the road to Graniteville, South Carolina, and pretty much spent the rest of my formative years in Graniteville.
So Aiken, that's a big horse town, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. Ran into a guy flying from Albany to Vegas, and he was talking. He was headed down to Aiken. Yeah.
yes. They
So
bring their horses from up north down there to train during the winter.
right, exactly. Gravitating towards music. I know we know you as a saxophonist, but you play keyboards as well. When you were a little kid, what got you into music?
Well, to be honest, what got me into music was my mother.
Okay.
When I was in the seventh grade, and when the local band thing sign
Mhm.
up came up, she signed me up, and they asked me what I wanted to play, and I wanted to play guitar, and the whatever you call it, the instrument teller, he was like, "Oh, well, we don't have guitars in high school band." So I picked the saxophone just purely because it hung around your neck like a guitar.
Right. Were you diligent practicing?
Uh, no.
So I'm not going to ask you advice for young budding musicians on that, right?
Practice. My
Practice.
advice, practice.
Right, right.
Practice
Well,
make perfect. I
well,
was
yeah, go ahead.
at that age I was a budding NFL running back at 125 pounds and 5'3".
Well, you could have been a superstar, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Who were you rooting for back then, NFL wise?
NFL wise, probably the Jets.
Oh, okay. I'm a
And I had
Giants
a
fan.
best friend that his favorite team was the Steelers, so I had to root for them also.
Right, right. Well, hopefully the Jets they have the year one of these days. 1969, I
Yes.
think, was their year. Yeah. So, so you found out the NFL wasn't your calling, and you decided to pursue music as a full time effort.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that to really get down and maybe get into some bands.
Well, after playing for 1 year, I wanted to quit after my first year, but my mother said play it one more year, so I gave it one more year. And during that course, I hurt my knee playing football, so I realized I wasn't out there to get hurt, so I went straight to music
Hmm.
and played in, I guess, middle school band, you want to call it. And when I turned 15, I was on the track team and I ran for a little while. And that May, I joined my first band. There was a band called Exit Enterprises in town. And it was basically a bunch of grown men and one college trumpet player, then my best friend that he was a year older than me. He was 16 and he was on trombone and the trumpet player was going off to college and they wanted a replacement for him. So at the time I was playing barrel sax in the band. So I showed up to the audition with the barrel sax and everybody in the band immediately laughed at me because obviously a barrel sax is not a replacement for a trumpet. It'd be alto.
Yeah.
So luckily I had a bunch of cousins in the band. So I passed the audition just because I had a bunch of cousins in the band.
Right.
And I proceeded to the guy in the band, the guy that was over the band, he got me an alto.
Hmm.
After at first I was just I was barring horns
Right.
just to go to rehearsals and do gigs. And once he figured I was cutting it, he wouldn't bought me a horn and he would take it out my pay. But after my very first gig, I knew that music was what I wanted to do. Very first song, I knew it. I was hooked.
What kind of music was the band playing back then?
Funk band.
Right up my alley.
Yeah, and like I told my roommate back then,
Mhm.
one you had the band had to audition to get a gig. You had
Wow.
to go in the club in the middle of the day, set your whole PA up, basically do a whole set.
Hmm.
And back then, if you didn't get the gig, then the club owner would tell you what you needed. If you were close enough, he would tell you what you needed to do for him to hire you. And
Oh,
probably
okay.
the number one requirement back there that doesn't exist today was you had to play the number one record,
Okay. And play
period.
it well. Yeah. Right. So you had
They
to mix
wanted
up.
of the
Right.
week, if not definitely of the month.
Yeah. Were you playing like 3 sets a night? Was it still kind of like that back in those days?
I think so. Pretty
Mhm.
sure.
Right.
It was either two or three.
How
You
about,
know, each
oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
oh, I was just saying probably each venue had their own program that they requested. But it
Right.
was a big band, full
Right.
horn section, two guitar players, two lead singers that both played percussion, drums, bass, and keyboards, and had a female singer and two DJs. So it
Wow.
was definitely a legit
Yeah.
funk band.
And people would bands like that would have to put on a show, right? There wasn't no
Oh yeah,
standing in one
yeah,
place. You
definitely
had to look
Showtime.
sharp. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
lights, camera, and action.
Right. Otherwise, you're not gonna have too many gigs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Club owners were not messing around back then.
right. How about yourself going to see concerts at that age? Other bands, do you remember maybe a couple of your
Uh,
firsts?
well, a lot of the times we would stop like after our gig at clubs, and me and the trombone player, we wouldn't be able to go in the clubs. We'd have to stay on the bus. Even though we just played all night in another club, we'd have to stay on the bus. So till I got out of high school, I really didn't see a whole lot of other bands. Every now and then we do a show, or it's an outdoor show,
Right.
to the general public. I could see bands then. And I had a cousin that played bass for Leroy Lloyd and the Swinging Dukes. So I got a chance to sneak in a couple of their concerts,
Ah,
when I
okay.
was young before I was playing.
Right, right. Yeah, nothing beat that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as going to concerts and then moving further into your professional career before James Brown and everything, were you doing recordings as well? Then playing live?
In high school, not a lot of recordings.
Hmm.
Um, but my very first live concert, my oldest sister took me to it. It was a Mother's Finest concert, and
Wow.
Chuck Brown opened up for them.
Wow. Phew. That had to
And
be
so
something. Yeah.
we got there right as Chuck Brown was doing his last song, Bustin' Loose.
Hmm.
Then it went right into Mother's Finest. So
Wow.
still to this day, two of my favorite bands.
Yeah. Mother's Finest still touring, right?
Yes,
Yeah. And Chuck's son's carrying on the tradition.
exactly.
Yeah. My first show was Stevie Wonder and Gil Scott Heron, and my second was your boss, James Brown and Wilson Pickett.
Oh, those are
So
two good
yeah,
concerts.
back then I was not as appreciative of like the greatness I was witnessing. And I met James because I worked in radio and went there after my radio shift and met him backstage in the dressing room, him and Wilson Pickett, and James had his hair up in curlers. They were doing two shows that night. So yeah, great times.
Yeah, I found out that being with James Brown the first time, I kind of took it for granted because I
Mhm.
grew up in the area.
Right. Yeah.
And when I first started playing, because you had to, it was the mid 70s, and you had to be playing all the songs that were on Billboard funk charts or soul charts.
Hmm.
And at that time, he really didn't have, he didn't really have any hits on the charts. So we didn't really do any James Brown. And we're just in the cameo and all that other stuff,
Hmm.
Parliament Funkadelic and Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right.
So when I actually got with James Brown, I really hadn't played much of his music as a musician. I
What
even
was
really checked it out.
Yeah, what was the track that you got it into to get an audition with him?
Well, for the audition, it was kind of weird because I had actually my brother had came out to California, and I'm trying to think, I think it was Arsenio Hall show or one of those shows.
Mhm.
he had got us tickets to there, and I went there, and it was the one with I think David Wolf was the music director,
Oh,
or
Michael
Michael
Wolf.
Wolf.
Michael Wolf. He's been on the show
Yeah,
before. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Star was the keyboard player, and I remember
Right.
giving
Yeah.
her a business card, and she
Okay.
signed it, Star, good luck with your music future.
All
And
right.
when we got back to my friend's house, my friend told me his wife told me that I had a phone call. James Brown office had called, so I called the office the next day, and they told me that they wanted me to fly to Augusta for audition. Well, the
Wow.
trick was I had to buy my own airplane ticket from California.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
So I get off the plane, and his manager picks me up at the airport, who I knew from the area. He's good friends with my brother, and takes me to the audition. Well, when I get to the audition, they're already rehearsing. The whole
Okay.
band's there, and they're in mid rehearsal. And I come in, and they introduced me to Brown, and I had the Jerry curl, and Danny Ray, his MC, looks at me, say, "Son, you're gonna have to cut your hair." That
Like you're
was
playing
like
for
the
the New York
first thing.
Yankees.
Yeah. And when I came through the door, James Brown looked at me and said, "Oh, I thought you were Prince." If Lynn, if you're listening, that's for you. And so I take my horn out. They introduce me to the band. I take my horn out. Nobody says a word to me. There's no sheet music, no nothing.
Wow.
And they just continue playing songs. I was like, well, I said to myself, well, if nobody's going to say anything to me, I guess I get to play whatever I want to play.
Right.
And that's best case scenario for me.
Hmm.
And at the time, I only knew actually one song by him, and that was "I Feel Good." But because everybody does it in the key of C, I
Right.
knew it in the key of C,
Oh, okay.
and that was the only tune I knew. And I played. I was playing the horn parts. I don't know how I was playing it, but at least now today, I feel like I didn't miss nothing.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
he pointed to me and gave me a solo. And when he gave me a solo, he stopped rehearsal for a minute, and everybody was hooping and hollering and clapping and stuff. So that's when I said to myself, well, I guess I must pass the audition.
Yeah. Who was leading the horn section back then?
Holly Farris,
Oh, okay. Trumpet
he
player?
was the band leader and the leader of the horn section.
Okay. So it was official you were part of the group. What was the sign? Did James come up to you or you kind of
Well, I
said,
guess they were all yucking it up after
yeah,
my solo, and they were like,
okay.
"Oh, you sound like Maceo," even though I don't play
Right.
like him. I like it good enough.
Who were you
And I was
replacing
like,
back then?
yeah, it was kind of mind blowing because that year Maceo was the jazz musician of the year in Playboy. So I was like,
Uh, wow.
got to replace that. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, that's big shoes to fill and
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. Can't fill them, but
No,
you can
definitely not.
occupy them at least.
Exactly, yeah. How many horns throughout your touring years were there in the band on average?
We ended up with three for the last probably. We did a video in Pittsburgh. Japanese did it. It was a Japanese production. And
Okay.
I want to say that was 99. We had seven horns at that point in time. That's the most we ever had. And
Yeah.
shortly after that, he started letting horn players go. And that's when I said to myself, because I probably had a crappy kind of attitude about playing at the time. And I was like, oh man, you better start playing because he's letting horn players go. So I got more serious about my job then. And
Mhm.
so I made the last three of a cut. It was me, Holly, and Jeff Watkins at the end.
At the end, yeah.
And probably from when I started with them, it varied from 5 to 7.
Okay. Yeah, we had Waldo Weathers on, great guy, a few years,
Yes.
no, a few months back. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, lot of touring, I'm sure. Do you have a favorite tour? if there was a name for a tour, or was it all just a constant doing shows?
Two of my favorite places is Argentina and Japan.
Oh, why so?
Japan for the just ultimate hospitality by the promoters
Hmm.
and fans, and Argentina just for the brotherhood of the musicians down there
Right.
and hospitality that you get from the musicians.
So during that time, were you doing any recording in the studio with James?
Yes, we did some recordings, and the actual one album he did the whole time I was in the band.
Hmm.
I missed the session because I was living in California, and they forgot to send my plane ticket, get me a plane ticket. So they must have did the album in a day or two. I wasn't there. I can't remember how long it took them, but it must have been really quick because they didn't get me a ticket. The whole album was finished
Oh,
real quick.
that's a shame. Yeah.
But the funny thing is, one of the songs, he actually called me for a solo,
Hmm.
and I don't play a note. He calls me out by name, and they left it on the album. I'm like, oh, well.
Right. How do
Then
you
the
think?
other album
Uh-huh.
that was released that I played on was a Christmas album he did. Might have been his last Christmas album, and
Right.
it was produced by Derek Monk.
Hmm.
And he called me to record on the album, and James Brown didn't know about it. And when he found out, when he listened to it, he's like, "Oh, that's Leroy." And he got mad at him for using his musicians. Don't be using my musician. He told him, "Don't be using my musician."
Right.
And
Just-
so, but Derek Monk's credit, he left every note I played on the whole album. It was one song. I was like, "What you want me to do on this?" He's
uh-huh.
like, "Just play from beginning to end." And I played from beginning to end, and he left every note I played in the song. I was kind of amazed that one, that he didn't have to erase me, much less have me play that much on a song.
Yeah. So you got that to your historic resume as
Yes.
well. Yeah. And all the touring. How do you think James Brown would adapt to current day with all the technology you could record across the world in separate places? Do you think he would have tried to do stuff like that, or he still want to be in the studio with everybody?
Um. Yeah. He probably would have did it eventually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He kind of predicted technology and resisted it all at the same time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How so with that resistance?
I would say, like back before you could video a concert straight to Facebook or YouTube,
Hmm.
people would call people on their cell phone in the audience, right?
Right.
And they would hold it up just for the people to hear.
Yeah. Right.
But James Brown would have security um, go take all the cell phones because he was saying they were still in the show
Yeah.
and uploading the show. And that was years before you could actually do that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And that's just one instance.
How is it as a performer? The feeling I'm sure you see in the crowd, people got their phones up for a good portion of the show. Is that distracting, or you just became used to stuff like that?
No, um, I think for me personally, I take it as a calling to be on your game every night
Oh, okay.
as
Yeah.
much as possible because you're no longer in control of what's going out there about you.
Ah, okay. Yep.
So if you
So
got a very off night, it might
somebody's got
fly
it on
around the
record.
whole world. Yeah, it's most likely somebody gonna pull their phone out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Matter
Have
of fact, I got
shakeability.
this one band I play in, and we got this one kind of super fan, and me
Uh-huh.
and the band leader, we joke about her because she's the worst videographer in the world. She videos the most boring 30 seconds of the song, and
Right.
then it ends right time it's about to get exciting again.
she's going with her heart, right?
Yes,
She's there
but we
for you,
love her.
right?
We love her.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's cool about people should check out Leroy Harper Jr. and the All Stars, the Funky Leroy Harper. Just go to YouTube, Leroy Harper, and his All Stars Funky Leroy Harper, and you'll see tons of videos up there. I got to give you guys major compliment yourself. You're in the crowd playing sax. A couple of your singers, you know, way in the crowd, and you could see the joy when you're coming out there to people's faces that you know they love it. How did you incorporate that into your stage command?
Um, well, from way back, I always like having a microphone clipped on to my bell,
Okay,
and just because for me, certain notes you have to move to hit the way you want to hit them. For me,
right.
and I just like the freedom of not having to stand like a statue and play in the microphone. I like the freedom, I guess, and then just the natural entertainer in me enjoys entertaining people. I guess the best way to put it. So
Yeah,
making it personable. I love to make sure the people know that we're playing for them, not ourselves.
right, right. Of all the songs that you play when you play covers, what would, off the top of your head, what would be the song you wish you had wrote yourself and recorded? You have a favorite?
Um, Always There by Ronnie Laws.
Oh yeah, you're a big Ronnie Laws fan, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What did attract you to Ronnie Laws playing?
Well, the original band I was in, at a certain point when I was still in high school, we got an older saxophone player, somebody, grown man,
Right.
and he had this. Now I know he's got like this real Wilton Felder kind of tone and that real space in between my notes, clean, super clean technique. So at first he's like, check out Grover Washington. So he turned me on to Grover Washington. Then a few months later, he was like, check out Ronnie Laws. So I checked out Ronnie Laws. Then a few months later, he was building me up to Wilton Felder.
Okay.
And then I checked out Wilton Felder. But for some reason, something about Ronnie Laws' sound and phrasing always stuck with me.
Did
And
you have a
just
yeah?
always been my favorite.
Did you have a chance to meet him?
Actually, I did. My very first tour, I played keyboards with Stacy Lattisaw.
Oh,
And
that's what I was going to ask you. Is tell us about Stacy Lattisaw and your affiliation.
yeah, so I was up in DC, and this was even before I played with James Brown. I was up in DC for a year. Stevie Wonder had sat in with my band in Columbia, South Carolina, and he had invited us to his show, and we checked out his show. And about 2 weeks after his show, we got a letter from Stevie Wonder to my brother, because he was managing us at the time, said
Mhm.
that Stevie Wonder wrote 2 songs for us. He wanted us to record them.
Wow.
Well, at the time, he was doing the Mothers Against Drunk Driving tour and trying to, and he was promoting the Martin Luther King birthday at that
Right.
time.
For the holiday. Yep.
So he was kind of super busy with that. So everything kept getting put off, kept getting put off. And the big thing was he wanted his bass player Nate to produce us.
Mhm.
So we had to get this money together, and I got the money together. Once again, we got to pay for everything, and it ended up just not ever happening. And before the money ran out, at least, and so end up band end up kind of disbanding. Lead singer he got killed. And meanwhile, my brother was living in D.C. and Stacey Lattisaw was looking for I'm not sure if she was looking for a saxophone player or a keyboard player, but she picked this whole band except for the saxophone player. And some kind of way, she ended up seeing a videotape of me and she wanted me to join the band. And I played keyboards. And it was only one sax solo the whole show, but I
Right.
would play 3 songs one to three songs to open the show for her.
Oh, okay.
And so we were touring and we were in St. Louis and we had this balcony back behind us. And I didn't realize it, but Ronnie Laws was being booked by the same promoter. So we was kind of, tours were kind of crossing paths.
Hmm.
And one of his background singers had caught our show, and she had brought Ronnie Laws to our show just to hear me play.
Oh, wow.
And luckily, I didn't even know he was there the whole show until we did a bow at
Mhm.
the end of the show, and I turned around and the balcony was right behind us. It was a club, and he was right there front row on the balcony. I was like, "Oh my God!" Glad I just saw him. My heart like to drop
Yeah.
out my chest. But
Right.
the
Right.
cool thing is, he ended up we ended up going to the bar and he bought me drinks and we sat down and talked, even though I can't remember one thing that we talked about, probably just because I was so blown away. But
Hmm.
I was like, well, I said to myself, well, you got something when your favorite saxophone player come to hear you. Something's happening.
Yeah. I mean, that's a true honor for you when he makes time to
Definitely.
come right there. So, I saw Stacey Latta she opened up for the Jacksons at Madison Square Garden. You weren't on that tour, were you?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So she had the short set, but she was cool. I always liked her music.
Beautiful, beautiful soul and a beautiful family.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's gone another path with a lot of different music, and of course,
Yeah,
her family,
gospel.
gospel music. Yeah. You've been on the biggest stages in the world. I mean, TV. You played Arsenio Hall. You mentioned.
Right.
You also the infamous Woodstock '99, and the whole concert's up on YouTube, and you got a nice solo at the end calling you out, Leroy.
Yes, man.
Yeah. Hey, those solos when he would call you out or another sax player, were you guys prepared? Was it, or did he sometimes change it up in mid stretch?
Yeah, you were prepared. You had your solos, but he might change it up. He might give it to somebody else on certain nights or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like when I was in the band, when I first joined the band, I was like I guess what you call the principal soloist.
Hmm.
And then I quit for a couple of years. And then that's when I came back, I had less solos, more money. Paid more money for me to solo less.
Oh, wow.
And Jeff Watkins, who say prayers for him, he had a stroke a couple of years ago. He was the
Oh, okay.
principal soloist.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
I would get
yeah.
a few, you know. Some nights I
Right.
wouldn't get any. Some nights I get a bunch, you know.
Right.
But usually I get one or two. But I've never been like worried about soloing kind of guy. I just like being in the band one way or the other, being on stage, being
Was
a part of what's going on.
was there a particular song out of all the James Brown catalog that was the most difficult for you as a sax player?
Mm, horn parts are to solo over.
Either or. Yeah.
Well, the solo wise, the hardest thing at first when I first got there was the major minor element, you know, because you're sitting on one chord and you can play major or you can play minor, you
Okay.
know. And like I say, I was not a super big all that in the soloing too much, so probably never investigated that as much as most people. Once I wrapped my mind around that and how to go in and out
Hmm.
with the major minor over the chord, then I was pretty good with that. Far as horn parts, probably the hardest thing was catching his cues
Oh,
because they
yeah.
would just play something, you know, because I kind of, you know, one again, I got through to the fire.
Right.
Very few rehearsals, no charts, no material. You can't really hardly listen to the record because it ain't really like the record in a
Didn't you
way.
didn't you, buy a lot of cassettes before you did the audition? Was that
Yeah,
yeah, I heard a
yeah.
story
So
you were telling,
we
yeah.
be on the road. We stop at truck stops, and I'm looking through all the cassettes, looking for live versions of the show. Because trust me, nobody in the whole band trying to help you. You
Wow.
know, just like that's your trial. You got to get this yourself.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, well, let me start trying to find tapes so I can learn the show.
Right.
And so the hardest thing is catching the cues. Like he say, this is time, 1969, this is time. You got to know what to do. And if nobody tell you what to do, you don't know what the trigger cues are.
Right.
Like how did they know to play that? I could play it if I knew the cue.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to catch that part. Far as execution of the horn parts, get up off of that thing is kind of a little tough one to play tight. And there was a couple of tunes that were more jazzy, but they weren't actually James Brown tunes.
Okay.
But probably more than anything is the hard part about playing with him is just you got to play like you're in the rhythm section. Parts are coming up when they come up. You
Yep.
got to be on point, on time. You can't give out, you know, more endurance kind of things.
Was he big on after a show going over any mistakes, or I don't know? Was there a lot of video that he'd go over with the band, or
Mm, no,
no?
no. Pretty much after the show. I can't remember ever going to a rehearsal after the show,
Okay.
but he definitely, if he gave you something to do,
Hmm.
and if you forgot it or missed it, he didn't. That's for sure.
Yeah, his dancing was that seeing it up that close. Were you amazed on what he put his body through?
Oh, definitely, especially at his age,
Yeah.
because I caught him older.
Right.
But like I say, he would go out on that stage and give it his all, and then you might come backstage, and then you realize, oh man, he gave it his all because he is like, phew,
Yeah.
he is sweating, he is being attended to, and he is relaxing. Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah. We had
definitely leaves it all on the stage.
we had his former tour manager, Alan Leeds. I think Alan was, yeah, he was already with Prince at that time,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, he told stories about the knees getting banged up doing the splits and everything. And
yeah, dropping, yeah,
yeah,
and he dropped on his knees.
yeah. Well, let's talk about Woodstock because it's so impressive, the amount of people, and you guys got out before they started causing trouble with those fires, I hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we kind of played. The funny thing about the documentary, even I forgot the whole thing about starting and the money. Even never got made it to the band. That part of it was a surprise to me because I never knew that happened.
The money problems with that, right?
Yeah, like he
Yeah.
wasn't gonna go on because of the money or whatever. If that
Right.
happened, it didn't. At least the news never reached me.
Right.
And we kind of went on, and Sheryl Crow was coming on after us, and
Mhm.
actually a friend of mine from out in California that I played with was playing drums with her.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so I was really surprised at that because I was just playing with him locally.
Right.
And so that was a big surprise. So I kind of stuck around as long as I could to see her, but we pretty much jetted out of there right after we finished playing.
Yeah, and then you hear and see it, and you're like, wow, what happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those festivals, I don't know. I'd rather have an assigned seat, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this age.
Yeah. Me personally, I've even got over the concert boominess. Kind of like my live music more like a home stereo,
Yeah.
clear as a bell as
Yeah.
possible, and hearing everybody and everything
How
instead of
how's
it being covered up by a bunch of bottom end.
right. How's your actual hearing from playing all those years?
My hearing's fine.
Oh, okay.
What I've been dealing with last few years is a couple of injuries, broken neck and broken back,
Oh,
causing neuropathy.
wow, how did that happen?
Well, broke my neck, I think on a motorcycle accident. I didn't even go to the doctor, so I didn't know. I didn't even know I broke my neck. And then my back, I know how I hurt that, lifting the amp rack.
Oh,
Trying to test to see if I could lift amp rack and actually lift it and kind of swung back into my thighs and messed my back up.
Yeah, I know what you're going through. My wife, she fractured her back like 3.5 years ago, and still the fracture healed, but everything else been messed up, the pain and everything. So I feel for
Yeah.
you guys. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
So I cut back a little bit on my playing this year, at
Hmm.
least the booking of it, just because I realize on my days off, the rest is really helps, so I'm not
Yeah.
trying to do 6, 7 days a week, you know.
Hmm.
And next year will be like my 50th year of playing music. So
Wow.
just trying to take this year to get my body all the way right. And I'm really trying to do something next year on another level.
Yeah. Leroy Harper's Funky All Stars on the road, maybe, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Do a nice East Coast
Peck
tour.
at it, peck around the corners, maybe take Lynn out with me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Lynn take me out with him, probably be more the case.
Right. Yeah, you got, nice people you hang with, Lynn and
Yeah,
Elliot.
he's great people. His daddy, his father's. I just asked him the other night how old his father was. His father showed up. He's like 79. I couldn't believe it. I'm
Wow.
like, well, dude, look into your future. You're gonna be good for a while.
Yeah, my dad's turning 84, and he's still, he picked me and my wife up at the airport. He was walking faster than us. So
There you go.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully we'll all make that great stage of
Yes.
life healthily. Yeah. Besides James Brown and your own band, great bands live, do you have some other bands through the years that you admired seeing play in concert?
Seeing and playing in concert, probably. Of course, Tower of Power. Those are my
Oh,
boys,
okay. Yeah.
and did quite a few shows with them. And
Mm.
plus, I used to live out in California,
Yeah, that's
so
right. The Bay Area,
when I
right?
yeah, I used to live in the Bay Area, so I knew a few of them from playing out there and did like side gigs with them, and um, so definitely them.
Mhm.
And I tell you what, I really love
Uh-huh.
is original Cool in the Gang when they were
Oh,
more of a jazz band.
oh, okay. Going a
I
lot of instrumentals,
absolutely,
yeah, right.
absolutely love that stuff. Incredibly jazzy, funky.
Yeah, the
Um,
band had a lot of people. I mean, most of the originals have long passed, unfortunately, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and try to let me think of somebody kind of new. Corey Wong, love him.
Yeah, great guitar player, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love
great.
him and everything he does.
Mhm,
Um, Derek Henry. As a
right.
matter of fact, last couple of days I've been checking out some Michael Brecker and James Carter.
Oh, James Carter, I saw him, he opened up for Maceo at the Montreal Jazz Festival.
Yes, oh my God, he is
Yeah,
both of them.
yeah.
And
He
Earl Bostick. I actually
Okay.
play. I'm in a band with his great nephew called Band on Fire. And
Oh,
Earl
okay,
Bostick,
alright,
amazing saxophone player that a lot of not enough people know about.
wow. Did you ever play the Montreal Jazz Festival in Canada with James?
Ooh, not sure, to
Yeah.
be honest. I know I played Montreal a couple of times,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but that was like early when I first got with him.
Mhm,
Later on, for some reason, we never went to Montreal. We did Vancouver a lot,
okay.
mostly Vancouver, then we Saskatchewan and Winnipeg on the West Coast stuff.
When was, the last gig you did with James?
Oh, I want to say it might have been Amsterdam in Holland.
Okay.
It was definitely on that tour. We did a tour where we um, flew into London. We did play in London. Immediately after concert, got on the plane, went straight to Moscow to play a private party,
Mhm.
and that J Lo was at. Right after that, we got back on the plane, went back somewhere else.
Right.
And that was the beginning of that tour. That's how that tour started. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, do you realize this dude is 80 or whatever?
Yeah.
That's a heck of a start for old man. It's a heck of
Yeah.
a start for a younger man.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we did that whole tour. It was maybe 2 weeks or whatever, but it was right over there. After we got back from Moscow, everything else was kind of Central Europe shows. But that
I
was the
just
last one. But what I really remember is I had a plane ticket to fly to Canada
okay.
Christmas morning. And then when I got up, I got the phone call, do not go to the airport.
Oh, wow.
That James Brown had died and the tour was canceled.
Yeah, because my wife's from Montreal originally. I was in Montreal for a Christmas party, and the next morning we heard on Christmas Day, and you guys were scheduled, I think, to play in Montreal.
Probably was,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there was something in the newspaper hyping it up. Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And to me personally, I thought that was the biggest mistake management made was canceling that tour. I think the band would have played on
Mhm.
if we'd have just went out, got on the plane and showed up in Canada.
Yeah,
It's like James Brown that just died. Who's not coming to the concert?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. They wanna have
And
that
if you
together
think
now.
about if you really knew James Brown and if you ask yourself what would he want you to do,
Mm,
he would have wanted us to go on and play. He would not have wanted us to cancel shows because he died, you know? He's
want
definitely a show
yeah,
must go on kind of guy.
yeah. Want that legacy of music to keep on pushing down the tracks.
Yes.
Yeah. How close do you stay in contact with your fellow band members through the years from the James crowd?
Um, a few of them pretty close. Matter of fact, Fred Thomas is supposed to be
Oh, yeah.
coming to visit me. He's down south now,
Yeah,
and he's
great
supposed
bass
to be
player.
visiting me sometime soon, next couple of days.
Oh, okay.
And so I stay real close in contact with Fred, keyboard player Jared Poindexter, Mousy, the drummer, Waldo. We was just talking back and forth online.
Yeah, nice guy. Yeah. Who was the I don't know if you played with him because it might have been in the early to mid 80s. It was the bass player back then.
There was David Weston.
Okay.
He married Ann Weston. She's from Canada,
Okay. Yeah, I got
and
a yeah.
could have been Jimmy Lee Moore or Fred. Those
I think it was
all
Jimmy
sweet.
Lee Moore maybe.
Yeah, all sweet Charles Sherrill.
Yeah, it wasn't Sweet Charlie. I think it was Jimmy Lee Moore.
Jimmy Lee Moore. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
in Florida. He's a preacher now.
Okay, because I was we were on the stage and I was talking to him and he was he's a really nice guy and says, "Oh, you guys want to hang out after the show?" And we didn't wind up hanging out, but he was real cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was going forward with your own band. Let's give our viewers and listeners some plans in the near future and what you got going other than recouping from all those various injuries of playing all these
Oh
years.
yes, yes. But first of all, my fingers do work now, so that was the major thing because you cannot play saxophone without your left hand. So
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
playing a lot of keyboards because my right hand was working better than my left, but now my left is back, so I'm back on sax.
Oh,
And I got
cool.
Elliot back, so that means I don't have to play keyboards as much.
Yeah,
And
he's always
so
positive. Yeah.
so like I said, we just ramping up. We have a few Wednesdays and the Mondays, and then I've got a couple of booking agents that have me on speed dial for whenever cancellations happen. But what I'm really trying to decide now that Lynn's came into my music life, trying to decide if I'm going funk, jazz, or a mixture in between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
So
got
I'm
that background. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically just kind of sharpening up the skills
Mhm.
and reading the tea leaves while I enjoy life.
Yeah, yeah. Seems like you got a nice life. You're able to call your own shots as far as
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's I'd
And you
much
can,
rather do that than be told, go here, be there, go, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I remember DJing parties, and it was like 3 gigs and within 24 hours across town, and lifting the equipment. I said, I could never do that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
it,
so
it,
slow down the hustle and bustle a little bit and try to. Well, here's what I've been telling all the guys in my bands.
mhm.
We've been playing music. Now it's time to make music instead
Yeah,
of just playing it and
right.
create music. Making and creating music instead of just playing it is my new mantra for my
Yeah.
band.
Yeah. Get some songs recorded, and you'll have that to add to all the other stuff you guys have done.
Right.
Yeah. How at the home, do you do any recording at your home?
I used to,
Mhm,
but just hadn't been doing because I used to do a lot of it by myself or with one person.
mhm.
And I kind of put a stop to that. I was like, man, I want to record with full bands, instead of
Right,
just
right.
sitting around,
Yeah.
computer full of songs I wrote all by myself. So I do have a good spot, a really good friend of mine. He's got a studio that we
Mhm.
rehearse in. And so all he has to do is hit play and record, so it's just a matter of timing when we go in and actually do something. But it's getting closer.
Right. How was James as a keyboard player? James
Oh,
Brown.
he's good.
Yeah, he was good?
He's
Yeah.
he's got those. Well, me and my roommate, we've been studying Barry Harris.
Oh, okay, yep.
He's got a lot of those Barry Harris chords without actually knowing what he's doing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
he would. Here's a funny story. He, we were in, I want to say either Tucson or Phoenix, Arizona,
Mhm.
and Jimmy Smith shows up.
Oh, wow.
And he's got a B3, of course, and a Korg M1 on stage.
Mhm.
Well, he gets Jimmy Smith to sit in, and he tells him to play the chord M1 instead
Okay.
of the B3.
Oh,
So at the end of the show, I'm in the dressing room, taking my clothes off, getting dressed, and his valet comes in. He's like, "Mr. Brown, I want to see you."
uh-huh.
I'm like, "Oh my God, what did I do this time?" So I go in his dressing room, and it's just Jimmy Smith and James Brown in the dressing room. He's like, "Son, sit down." And him and Jimmy Smith, they're just talking. Nobody's talking to me. For some reason, he wanted me to be in there while him and Jimmy Smith were talking to each other. And they're going back and forth, talking about whatever. Then the conversation's over with, and Jimmy Smith's about to leave. I said, he's about to leave. I was like, man, I'm going to say something. I say,
Uh-huh.
hold on, don't go nowhere. And I told him and James Brown, I said, stand there. And I put my hands on both of them like a preacher. I
Uh-huh.
said, I'm gonna be the only person in history to ever touch James Brown and Jimmy Smith at the same time. I said, y'all give me whatever y'all got to give me. I'll take it now, right now.
That is
And
a
they
good
both
story.
stood there real still for a couple of seconds, and they were laughing, and
Yeah,
then he
yeah.
walked out. And no sooner than the door shut, James Brown turned around to me and said, "Mr. Harper, Jimmy Smith done lost it." And he say, I cut him. Talking about he played the B3 better.
Right,
I'm
right.
thinking, yeah, he lost it. He lost his B3. You wouldn't let him play B3. He doesn't play him more.
And you got a book in you, I think. You got a lot of stories to
Oh,
tell.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We could go for a while.
You definitely got to get those documented. Were a lot of celebrities, I'm sure, popping in the dressing room wanting to meet James in the band back in the day?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
And we would be around them, but for some reason, we were always a little bit separated from them all. Whoever else
Yeah,
was on the show. I don't know why, but
right.
you've always felt that little bit of separation,
You
which
did
kind of
the
made it kind of hard for, how you go on tour with one person, the next thing you know, you're on tour with the next. I think
yeah,
it was maybe kind of set up in that way just to keep the band from jumping ship. Anybody from jumping ship.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Did you play BB King's in New York City with him towards the end?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Those dressing rooms are small.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going back and, our friends in Morris Day and the time. And yeah, it's like everybody's jam
Yeah.
packed. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I used to like to do that room.
yeah. Would you
I
do
always,
one show or two shows?
I think we only did one.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think we would do one.
What did you like about BB King's in New York?
What I didn't like was the sound system.
Oh, you didn't like it? Okay.
Yeah, I always thought the sound was rugged,
Oh, okay.
kind of rugged kind of sound. But
But
now I played David Letterman's show once, and now that sound was immaculate.
wow. Yeah.
Matter of fact, when we finished playing, because for some reason the whole band basically couldn't make the flight. It was just me, Sinclair Pinckney,
Mhm.
and Ron Laster. We were the only three that made it. So we played with the Letterman band. And after Brown finished playing, they asked us to stay up and play the rest of the night. So we got to play the whole night.
Oh, you played
So
during the
that,
commercials and everything?
yeah, doing the
Yeah.
commercials and everything. Yeah, that was,
So you were playing with
growing up watching
yeah,
David Letterman, that was for sure. And watching David Sanborn on there and whoever
yeah.
else on there, that was definitely a highlight.
Was Bernie Worrell in that band that year? I think he did it one year, but
No, he wasn't in it. It
yeah,
was Paul Schaefer,
yeah.
and I want to say it was 91 or 92, probably
Will
92.
yeah, Will Lee
So it
on
was
bass.
Paul Schaefer and Buzz Featon and Will Lee,
Right, yeah.
that group.
Yeah.
Antoine Fig,
Oh, yeah, and the drums, yeah.
which I always thought he was real rock and rollish, but he was all over the James Brown stuff. He laid it down funky.
Wow. Yeah, you've been amongst the greats, and you're one of the greats, so keep it going.
I'll do my
Yeah.
best.
You get on that stage in 50 years next year, right?
Yes, sir. 50 years. Look
Yeah.
out for next year.
It's gonna be a big celebration, and,
Yes, I promise to bring it all year long.
that's right. And before we say goodbye, can you tell the viewers, listeners, where they can go to see you and the All Star Leroy Harper's All Star bands?
Well, first of all, if you go to our Facebook page, you will see our dates. Funky, the Funky Leroy Harper Jr. All Stars with a Z at the end, and or you can go to my Facebook page. But right now, every Monday and Tuesday, you can catch me at Star Tavern, and I have one Wednesday a month at Locals Tavern. I mean, at Local on the Water in North Myrtle Beach, and I will have random gigs here and there, but you can also catch me with Band on Fire, and you can catch me anywhere with the Mercenaries
Mhm.
or Atwood.
And you never know who will show up. As you say, it's
You'll never know who show
the
up.
Ellis Island for musicians.
We might do some Led Zeppelin and follow it up with some John Coltrane.
Wow. So you never know, and that's what's exciting about it, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So thanks, brother Leroy Harper. It's an honor to have you on the show, Leroy Harper
Thank you, my
Jr.
brother.
Yeah, and Monday night, say hi to Elliot and Lynn and the rest of the band.
I will do, and God bless you and everything that you do.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.